Welcome to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel, and a slightly different style of video today. We're taking a look at the Kia Stinger GTS. We're really focusing on two things. One, it's to say farewell to the Stinger because it's just gone off sale and, well, it's a bit of a landmark car for Kia. It's been quite important in its own way, so we felt like it deserved a farewell. Point two is that while the Stinger might no longer be available as a new car, you can still make a terrific used purchase. As for the Stinger's origins, it was launched at the Detroit Auto Show at the beginning of 2017. The first UK cars actually came over later that year, and that's because Kia wanted dynamic sign-off in the UK as well as at the Nürburgring. And this car really was a statement of intent from Kia, so it grown enormously its presence in Europe. Cars like the Ceed had really transformed the brand's reputation. It had launched a 7-year warranty. It had shown that it could build cars that were able to rival the mainstream makers. But it still had a bit of an image problem. The Sportage had helped, but Kia wanted a halo car. The Stinger was just that, and combined the talents of designer Peter Schreier and vehicle dynamics head Albert Biermann to create a 5-door GT car that could go toe-to-toe with BMW, Audis and Mercedes for style and performance. Kia itself will tell you it didn't sell that many, but in terms of transforming the brand, it did some really important foundational work. And when you look at Kia today and you look at how well its EVs are perceived, it's almost certain that the Stinger played a really important role in that. So that's a bit about why the Stinger was a bit of a landmark car in itself and how it helped to transform Kia as a brand. I'm going to talk a bit about what it's like to drive in a minute, but first I want to cover why we think it's such an appealing used car. A big part of it is it's a Kia, so it has a 7-year, 100,000 mile warranty. Provided the car has been serviced according to Kia's conditions, they will warranty it for 7 years. And what that means is that there is not a Stinger in the UK today in 2023 that in theory wouldn't still be under warranty as long as it has done less than 100,000 miles and as long as it's been serviced by Kia. Having a warranty, a manufacturer-backed warranty on a 3.3 litre twin-turbo V6 GT car gives enormous peace of mind. And of course, the reason Kia puts these long warranties on their cars is because, generally speaking, they don't have a huge number of problems, and therefore they don't have a huge number of people making warranty claims, and therefore the warranties don't end up costing them a great deal of money. That warranty is of course factored into the price of used Stingers, but with prices currently starting at around £24,000 for a 40 or 50,000 mile example from 2017 or 2018, it still looks like a great value option considering at the level of performance. We really are talking about the GTS model here. I should make a point of that. So Kia did also for a while sell petrol and diesel models, 4 cylinders. And they were fine, but they're not really why you would buy a used Stinger today. So a couple of things to be aware of when looking at a used Stinger. One is VED, Vehicle Excise Duty, or road tax, as a lot of people know it. It can be very expensive and it can be surprisingly affordable. It depends on what year of Stinger you go for. So basically, if you look at a model before about mid-2021, the as-new price fell below the threshold where the premium rate of VED was applied. Those cars cost less than £200 a year to tax. It's about £160, £170. If you go for a later car, where the list price would have been over £40,000, then the premium rate of VED is applied, and they cost more like £450 a year to tax for the first 5 years of the car's life. So there's a big difference there, and it might influence which one you might choose to buy. So also worth thinking about is fuel economy. So if you use the V6, oh, it's such a good engine. If you use the full power of the V6, then of course you're going to see probably low 20s, maybe even a bit less if you're really going for it. However, on a run, a Stinger GTS, it's a very unstressed engine, and owners report they'll do 30 to 35 miles per gallon. In mixed driving, it's more like 28 miles per gallon that owners report, and in that respect you have to say that for this kind of car with this sort of power, that's really par for the course. The oldest of these cars are now 5 to 6 years old, but you still actually get most of the things that you'd expect to find in a brand new car today. So you get a touchscreen infotainment system. Okay, it's an 8-inch screen in this. The later post-facelift Stingers got a 10.25-inch screen. Earlier cars was 8-inch. But it has Apple CarPlay, it has Android Auto, it has wireless phone charging. Other nice things, Nappa leather, the quality of the leather is really good in here. You get heated seats, ventilated seats, heated steering wheel, reversing camera. There is a lot of equipment in the Stinger. Sunroof as well. And you don't need to worry about specking up or specking down. Really, you're just thinking about the colour of the car, basically. And that, again, as a used buy, just makes it a bit easier to find a good model. You're not looking for that elusive bit of equipment. There are a lot of buttons. I suppose that is one area where you can see that the Stinger has dated a little bit, but they do also make it very easy to control the car. So there's a separate panel for the heating and climate control, so that's all very easy to use. There's shortcut buttons for the infotainment. The steering wheel has buttons for the cruise control and the trip computer. It has voice control. It's an easy car to drive, really smooth controls. It's big. That is worth pointing out. If you live in an area with lots of narrow lanes, you are going to find that the Stinger is a big car. But that aside, it is completely hassle-free to drive, really. So that's road tax, that's fuel economy, that's equipment covered. Now, usually in a used car review, this is probably where we would start to think about, now, what are all the things that go wrong with this particular car that you need to be aware of? With the Stinger, there's not really a huge amount to report. There's been a couple of recalls, one in 2018, another in 2021, so you want to make sure that any work needed for those has been carried out. But otherwise, it tends to be small things like a bit of creaking around the sunroof frame or the adaptive cruise control bleeping when it shouldn't. Not huge problems. There are fixes for them, and of course, if the car's still under warranty, then you can just take that to Kia to get it done. As for space and practicality, the Kia has enough room in the back for 2 adults to travel in comfort or 3 to squeeze, and the 406-litre boot is a useful size, all of which makes the Stinger GTS a practical enough car to use as a family vehicle should you wish. But of course, if you're in the market for a high performance car, you're also buying it at an emotional level. So let's explore that a bit more, both in what it's like to drive and also a bit more of the backstory to the car. So this is one I particularly like about the Stinger. So when it first came to the UK, it was a pre-production model, and as I mentioned earlier, as well as honing its dynamics on the Nürburgring, it was tested extensively in the UK. The car that was used for that, those sorts of cars, when they're being tuned for a market, will usually do around 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 miles. That particular car went on to do 10,000 miles because it ended up effectively becoming like a pre-press car. So it went out to Top Gear in the Grand Tour and all the mags. It did probably a lot more sideways driving than most other press cars ever do. But as a pre-production model, it was always going to have to be scrapped at some point. And when that time came, actually what happened was that a small group of people within Kia formed kind of like a skunkworks project, and they made the case to Kia UK management that the car should be kept and turned into a track car. And so that's what happened. So there is a Stinger, I think it's called the 420, which has a full livery. It's been stripped out so it's lighter, it's been tuned, I think it's about 420 horsepower. It's, by all accounts, a bit of an animal. So in terms of performance, as we mentioned, 370 horsepower, so 3.3 litre twin turbo, petrol V6. It has about 380 pounds-feet of torque, and 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds. So it's a quick car by any measure, but it's not just the speed, it's the fact that it's got power everywhere. So peak torque comes in from just 1300 RPM, which helps explain why the Stinger can be quite lively in the wet, because it gives you a lot of torque very quickly. Fortunately, the Stinger is also an intuitive car to catch once the rear-driven chassis does start to move. The limited slip differential, adaptive dampers and accurate steering help the car to feel intuitive to drive up close to its limits. What's really great about the GTS though is that it responds to your driving style. Whether it's smooth and swift or more aggressive and scrappy, this big Stinger is with you all the way. Ease back meanwhile, and it'll devour miles in complete comfort. You know, it's really hard to quantify the true impact of a car like this because they didn't sell many. You know, most people probably couldn't tell you what a Kia Stinger is. However, for those in the know, it turned Kia from a maker of dull but sensible cars into one that clearly was really interested in what petrol heads were interested in. It showed that it had skin in the game, and I think that buys so much credibility. Just such a fun car. So there you have it, our farewell to the Stinger GTS, plus a few good reasons why you might want to consider one as a great value used buy. Of course, you can check out loads of used examples for sale at cargurus.co.uk, and while you're there, head to our research section to find our full Stinger buying guide.